Let's create one new test for the, or one new set of tests for the administrator. Then, just like we did before with redirecting the login, I'll create a bunch of new tests, quickly describe them, and let you get at those working properly. So the test we're going to do is we're going to say that we're actually going to limit deleting users to only be the administrative user. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to, for an authenticated user, let's describe the delete action. We don't have to do that for the non-authenticated user because we already redirect them. But if you're authenticated, now what we want to say is it behaves like, well, we want it to behave like it redirects, but not to login. They are logged in and they're logged in as the right person. So this is to the root, and since we created the root path, we'll be able to describe that. So let's worry about this. Let's try to figure out what the parameters should be for this. And I have so nicely already written in our login a redirects to root example. And it's based on our redirects to login that we've already done with just a couple of changes. Since it redirects to root, we'll assume that people are already properly logged in. So the first parameter we have is which person we're going to log in as. Then we're going to have that same browser path. And then we're going to want to know what shows up, that's what this error signature is, what shows up on the page if the test fails and doesn't redirect to root. It goes on to the page it's supposed to. And this is the error that we expect to see when we do our deletion. This is where our root path is. That's not a variable that's defined in our named routes. And then again, we have our direct path, our direct HTTP method. And this shouldn't redirect to the login path. That should redirect to the root path. That's what I get for copying and pasting. All right. So, and in this case, we want it to be the error type. There we go. So we want the same error here as we had up here. Okay, so that is our test. And so what we can do is then go ahead and save that, edit our spec. Well, let's split this just so we make sure we get it right. Spec features authorization pages. All right, and so in here, what we know is we want to have our login user, that just to be our user. We want our browser path to go to there is no browser path, so we can't directly go to root. So we want to skip our browser, and it helps if we put the do it right spot. There we go. So we skip browser path, we skip error signature, and we have our error type, since it's in both, and we want this to be a problem. You're trying to delete something you're not supposed to. We're going to have our direct HTTP method, which is our delete method, and we're going to try to go to our user path right here. And we'll make sure that that's all of that we need. Okay, that is. So these are the 4 things that we need. If we try to delete ourselves, not even some other user, if we try to delete ourselves, we want to be redirected back to the root path and get some sort of danger message. So if we write that and go ahead and test as best we can our test and make sure it fails, we'll have a good idea that we're in trouble. Okay, so we have an error here in line 67. We probably have 2 ends here, huh? So now we try running again. And this is why we always try to run our tests before we develop for them, because our tests might be broken in these subtle ways. So we want to make sure at least that we believe that our test works by correctly failing and not redirecting. Okay, so that didn't work. And if we think about why, let me go here, let's close this, and then let's edit our app controllers, users controller. What happens when we do a destroy? We redirect to users path, which happens to be the same place as our root path points to. So we have a problem because it's redirecting to that user's path. However, spec features. Let's see. We do expect a danger to still exist. So we need to explore that a little bit further. So our test is broken. So let's look a little bit more here. There we go. And I think this is breaking. We know we're skipping here, so let's put. There we go. Let's just put a little printout here. See if we're even getting to this part of the code. Because this is where the error is. We should be sending a delete method to our user path and expecting redirect with that error type. And so when we run the tests and we don't see that here, that means this isn't running. And I don't expect you to see this because you haven't written this code or examined it carefully. But what that means is direct access is false. But how could it be false if we set it to be true here? Well, this is a little error I had in my last code that I had since fixed. So let's, if you look at those, these are different. What happened here? Right here. There we go. Is it before if options was set, options or equals, options would be true, and so we wouldn't get these default values. So now what I do is, if options is set, it remains the same. But if it's not set, I set it to an empty hash. And then what I do is I merge whatever I got from options, either the empty hash or the values being passed in. I merge it with these, skip browser being false and direct access being true, and make sure that what I was passed in trumps these values right here if they're both set. So the skip browser and direct access only are set if they're not passed in. So let's try setting that running our test again and verifying that it works. This is example why we want to make sure our test fails. If our test doesn't fail, we're not actually testing, and we could easily be fooled into thinking we're passing our test when it's not even running properly. Now we get what we want. We don't get our redirect, and we're much happier with where things are at. So now we in the next episode we can try to pass this test.